Hi, I'm Sasha. The first time I realized I was truly invisible in my own home was when I collapsed at our front door after track practice. I'd been feeling dizzy all afternoon, my water bottle empty since noon, but coach made us run twice as many laps because someone talked back. Hello? Anyone home? I called out weakly, fumbling with my keys. The sounds of laughter and music pulsed from inside. My sister Kira was having friends over again. I pushed the door open, stumbled inside, and promptly crumpled to the floor. Mom? I whispered, my vision blurring as I watched feet. My mother's familiar floral flats walk right past me carrying a tray of snacks. One sec, sweetie. These nachos are for Kira's study group, she called out, not even looking down. My father stepped around me, also not seeing me sprawled on the entryway floor. Donna, did you get those sodas in the fridge like Kira asked? Yep. And I made her favorite dip, too. Their voices faded as they moved toward the living room where Kira and her friends were laughing about something. That's when Mrs. Peterson, our next-door neighbor who was dropping off mail, found me. Sasha, oh my goodness! She rushed to my side, kneeling beside me. Donna, your daughter's collapsed, Mom's voice called back, annoyed. What? Kira's fine. She's right here. Not Kira, Sasha! When they finally noticed me, their reactions were tepid at best. Oh, Sasha, you should have said something, Mom said, hovering uncertainly. I did, I whispered. She's burning up, Mrs. Peterson said, touching my forehead. And she's severely dehydrated. Don, call an ambulance. Dad hesitated. I'm sure she's fine, just being dramatic. Kira has friends over. Mrs. Peterson's face hardened. Then I'll call them myself. No need for that, Dad said quickly, pulling out his phone. In the emergency room, Dr. Reynolds checked my vitals with concern. Severe dehydration, low blood sugar, and heat exhaustion, she explained. Sasha, how long were you feeling unwell? Since school. I told Mom I wasn't feeling great this morning. Mom shifted uncomfortably. I don't remember that. You were making Kira's lunch, I said quietly. I said I felt dizzy, and you told me to eat a banana. Did you? Dr. Reynolds asked. The last one was saved for Kira's lunch. Dr. Reynolds' eyes narrowed slightly. I see. And who brought you water while you were sick? No one. They didn't notice I was on the floor until Mrs. Peterson came in. The doctor's pen paused mid-note. How long were you lying there? About 20 minutes, I think. And there were adults in the home? Mom interrupted. We were just busy with Kira's study group. It's a big deal. Her friends are all on the student council. And your other daughter collapsing from dehydration isn't a big deal? Dr. Reynolds asked pointedly. The question hung in the air as my parents glanced at each other. We should call Miss Chen, Dr. Reynolds said to the nurse, who nodded knowingly. Who's Miss Chen? I asked. A counselor I'd like you to talk to, she replied, giving me a gentle smile. I think she might be able to help. As she left the room, I caught her murmuring to the nurse, Document everything. This isn't the first time, I suspect. For the first time, someone was seeing me. Really seeing me. Miss Chen's office had plants everywhere, and a small fountain that made quiet trickling sounds. I'd been meeting with her weekly since the hospital incident 3 weeks ago. So, Sasha, you've been keeping the journal I suggested? I nodded, pulling out a small notebook. It's all in here. Every time they cancel on me or choose Kira instead. And how do these instances make you feel? Like I'm a ghost. Or worse. Like I'm just taking up space that could be used for Kira's trophies. Miss Chen leaned forward. Have you talked to anyone else about this? My Aunt Vivian called yesterday. She was furious when she heard about the hospital. What did she say? She wanted to know why nobody called her. Said she would have been there in a heartbeat. And how did that make you feel? Like maybe I do matter to somebody. I paused. Aunt Viv asked a lot of questions. Wanted to know if this was the first time they'd ignored me being sick. And is it? No. Last winter I had a fever of 103, but Mom said she couldn't miss Kira's debate tournament. I stayed home alone for 2 days. Miss Chen's pen moved rapidly across her notepad. Alone? At what age? I was 14. She looked up sharply. That's neglect, Sasha. They just love Kira more, I said, shrugging. She's going places. I'm just there. That's not how parenting works, Miss Chen said firmly. You deserve equal care and attention. My phone buzzed, a text from Aunt Vivian. Meeting with lawyer tomorrow, found something important, call me. Miss Chen noticed my expression. Everything okay? My aunt's talking to a lawyer, about my parents, I think. How do you feel about that? Scared, but also relieved? Is that weird? Not at all. It's natural to want protection, even from the people who should be protecting you. Later that day, I called Aunt Vivian from the school counselor's office with Miss Chen present. Sasha, honey, I've been going through your medical records, Aunt Vivian said. The hospital visits, the school nurse reports. There's a pattern here. What kind of pattern? I asked. Neglect, sweetheart. Documented neglect. 3 hospitalizations in 2 years, all with similar notes from doctors about delayed care and parental absence. What does that mean? It means we have options, legal ones. You mean like foster care? My voice quavered. No, honey. Like me applying for guardianship. Would you want that? I glanced at Miss Chen, who gave me an encouraging nod. More than anything, I whispered. Then that's what we'll do, Aunt Vivian said firmly. But first, we need to confront your parents with what we know. Are you ready for that? I think so, I said, though my hands trembled. You won't be alone, Miss Chen assured me. I'll be there, and so will Dr. Reynolds. We've both documented our concerns. And so will I, Aunt Vivian added. Saturday, we'll do it together. For the first time, I felt something beyond the hurt, something that felt like hope. Saturday arrived with a heaviness in the air. Aunt Vivian, Miss Chen, and Dr. Reynolds sat with me in our living room, facing my confused parents. Kira was at another friend's house, of course. What's this about? Dad asked, eyeing the manila folder in Aunt Vivian's hands. This is about Sasha, Aunt Vivian said firmly, and years of neglect that ends today. Mom's face flushed. Neglect? That's ridiculous. We give our children everything. You give Kira everything, I said quietly. That's not true, Dad protested, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. Isn't it? I pushed the journal toward them. Every canceled doctor's appointment because of Kira's events. Every parent-teacher conference you skipped. Every time I was sick and told to tough it out while you drove Kira to the doctor for a sniffle. That's different, Mom insisted. Kira's activities are important for her future. And mine aren't? Or my health isn't? Dr. Reynolds cleared her throat. I have medical documentation of 3 separate incidents where Sasha's care was dangerously delayed. The most recent hospitalization could have been prevented entirely with basic attention. We didn't know she was that sick, Dad argued. I was unconscious on your floor for 20 minutes while you served nachos, I said, my voice shaking. You stepped over me, Dad. You literally stepped over my body. I didn't see you. That's exactly the problem, Miss Chen interjected. You don't see her. Mom's eyes narrowed. This is ridiculous. We're good parents. We don't deserve this ambush. Good parents don't leave a 14-year-old alone with a high fever for 2 days, Aunt Vivian countered. What? Dad looked genuinely surprised. You didn't even know about that, did you? I asked. Because you were both at Kira's debate tournament. I called Mom 6 times. She texted back once saying, take Tylenol. I'm sure I checked on you when we got home, Mom said defensively. You got home and went straight to bed. The next morning, you left for day 2 of the tournament without coming into my room. Mom's face paled. I thought you were sleeping. I was delirious with fever. My sheets were soaked through. I couldn't even walk to the bathroom. Why didn't you say anything? Dad demanded. I've been saying things for years. My voice rose. You just never listen. We've been listening, Aunt Vivian said, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. And so have these professionals. This isn't a one-time mistake. It's a pattern. So what are you saying? Mom asked, her voice brittle. That we're terrible parents? That we don't love Sasha? I'm saying Sasha deserves better, Aunt Vivian answered. And I'm filing for temporary guardianship, effective immediately. Dad's face darkened. You can't do that. She's our daughter. A daughter you've consistently failed to protect, Dr. Reynolds said. My reports alone would convince a judge. This is insane, Dad stood up, pointing at me. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By turning your aunt against us? By making up stories? They're not stories, I said, tears streaming down my face. And I didn't turn anyone against you. Your actions did that. Dawn, sit down, Mom hissed, finally seeing the seriousness of the situation. Sasha, honey, if you felt neglected, we can fix this. We'll do better. I promise. I don't believe you, I said simply. What? Every time Kira needs something, I'll still disappear. Nothing will change. That's not fair, Dad shouted, slamming his hand on the table. You ungrateful! Miss Chen stood up. I think that's enough for today. Sasha, are you ready to go with your aunt as planned? I nodded, already gripping my pre-packed suitcase. This isn't over, Dad threatened. You can't just take her. Actually, Aunt Vivian said, pulling out another document, the emergency order says I can, and if you try to stop us, there will be additional consequences. As we walked toward the door, Mom rushed after us. Sasha, please, we can work this out. I turned back one last time. You know what hurts the most? You still don't get it. You're not upset about hurting me. You're upset about looking bad. And with that, I walked out the door, visible at last. The family court was smaller than I'd imagined, the judge's bench less imposing. 3 months had passed since I'd moved in with Aunt Vivian. 3 months of regular meals, doctor's appointments that weren't canceled, and someone actually asking about my day. All rise, the bailiff called as the judge entered. Mom and Dad sat at one table with their attorney. They'd tried everything in those 3 months. Gifts sent to Aunt Vivian's house, promises of therapy, even using Kira as a messenger to guilt me into coming home. Before we begin, the judge said after reviewing the documents, I want to clarify that this hearing is to determine permanent guardianship of Sasha Bennett, currently under temporary guardianship of her aunt, Vivian Reeves. My parents' attorney stood. Your Honor, my clients have completed parenting classes and family therapy as suggested. They're prepared to provide an improved home environment for their daughter. Is that so? The judge turned to our attorney. Miss Patel, your response? Miss Patel gestured to Miss Chen, who had been called as a witness. In my professional opinion, Miss Chen stated, the changes made by the Bennetts appear superficial rather than substantive. In our mandated family therapy sessions, they consistently centered discussions around their feelings of betrayal rather than Sasha's experiences of neglect. She's exaggerating, Mom whispered loudly. We've changed. The judge frowned. Mrs. Bennett, you'll have your turn to speak. Dr. Reynolds was next. The medical evidence of neglect is clear and concerning. What troubles me most is that even after being confronted with documentation, the parents showed more concern for their reputation than their daughter's well-being. When it was finally my turn to speak, my hands trembled, but my voice remained steady. Living with Aunt Vivian has shown me what it feels like to be valued, I said. For the first time, I'm not competing for basic care and attention. My school counselor asked me recently if I'd be willing to try again with my parents, and I've given it a lot of thought. I looked directly at them. I'm not ready. Maybe someday, but not now. Sasha, please, Mom pleaded. We love you. Mrs. Bennett, the judge warned. Dad leaned forward. This is ridiculous. We made mistakes, but taking our daughter away permanently is extreme. Everyone favors Kira sometimes. She's exceptional. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Dad's attorney winced. Mr. Bennett, the judge said sharply, did you just tell this court that preferential treatment of one child over another is acceptable? That's not what I meant, Dad backpedaled. It's exactly what you meant, I said quietly. And it's what you've always done. After testimony from my teachers and even Kira, who reluctantly admitted our parents regularly missed my events while never missing hers, the judge made her decision. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting permanent guardianship to Vivian Reeves, with structured visitation for the parents after completion of extensive family therapy. Outside the courthouse, my parents approached us one last time. "This isn't fair," Mom said, tears streaming down her face. "We can change. We've already started changing." "I believe you want to," I said honestly. "But wanting isn't enough." "So that's it?" Dad asked bitterly. "You're just done with us." "No," I replied. "But I'm done being invisible. When you can actually see me, really see me, maybe we can start over." As they walked away, Aunt Vivian squeezed my shoulder. "You okay, kiddo?" "Yeah," I said, surprising myself by meaning it. For the first time in a long time, I really am. Later that evening, as we sat with Miss Chen discussing the outcome, she asked me a question that made me pause. "Sasha, what would you tell other kids who feel invisible in their own homes?" I thought about it for a long moment. I'd tell them that being seen matters, that they deserve to take up space, and that sometimes the family you need isn't the one you're born into, but they're out there, waiting to see you. "Do you think your story will help others find their voice?" Miss Chen asked. "I hope so," I said, looking at Aunt Vivian with gratitude. Everyone deserves to be visible. Have you ever felt invisible to the people who should see you most clearly? Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is stand up and say, "I matter too."